Leviticus, chapter 7. This is the ritual for the sacrifice of reparation. It is a most holy thing. The victim is to be immolated in the place where the holocausts are immolated, and the priest must pour out the blood on the borders of the altar. Then he is to offer all the fat, the tail, the fat that covers the entrails, the 2 kidneys, the fat that is on them and on the loins, the fatty mass which he will remove from the liver and kidneys. The priest must burn these pieces on the altar as a burnt offering for the Lord. This is a sacrifice of reparation. Every male who is a priest may eat it. It must be eaten in a holy place. It is a most holy thing. As with the sacrifice for sin, so with the sacrifice of reparation, the ritual is the same for both. The offering with which he has performed the rite of atonement is to revert to the priest. The skin of the victim presented by a man to the priest to be offered as a holocaust shall revert to the priest. Every oblation baked in the oven, every oblation cooked in the pan or on the griddle shall revert to the priest who offered it. Every oblation, mixed with oil or dry, is to revert to all the sons of Aaron without distinction. This is the ritual for the communion sacrifice offered to the Lord. If it is offered with a sacrifice with praise, there must be added to it an offering of unleavened cakes mixed with oil, unleavened wafers spread with oil, and wheaten flour in the form of cakes mixed with oil. This offering, then, must be added to the cakes of unleavened bread and to the communion sacrifice with praise. One of the cakes of this offering is to be presented as an offering to the Lord. It shall revert to the priest who pours out the blood of the communion sacrifice. The flesh of the victim must be eaten on the day when the offering is made. Nothing must remain until the next morning. If the victim is offered as a votive or a voluntary sacrifice, it is to be eaten on the day it is offered and also on the following day. But on the 3rd day, whatever remains of the victim's flesh must be thrown on the fire. If the flesh offered as a communion sacrifice is eaten on the 3rd day, the man who has offered it will not be accepted. He is to receive no credit for it. It is defiled flesh, and the man who eats it shall bear the consequences of his fault. Flesh that has touched anything unclean cannot be eaten. It must be thrown on the fire. Anyone who is clean may eat flesh, but anyone unclean who eats the flesh of a communion sacrifice offered to the Lord shall be outlawed from his people. If anyone touches anything unclean, human or animal, or any foul thing, and then eats the flesh of a communion sacrifice offered to the Lord, this man shall be outlawed from his people. The Lord spoke to Moses. He said, "Speak to the sons of Israel. Say to them, you must not eat the fat of ox, sheep or goat. The fat of an animal that has died a natural death or been savaged by beasts may be used for any other purpose, but you must not eat it. Anyone who eats the fat of an animal offered as a burnt offering to the Lord shall be outlawed from his people. Wherever you live, you must not eat blood, whether it be of bird or of beast. Anyone who eats blood, whoever he may be, shall be outlawed from his people." The Lord spoke to Moses. He said, "Speak to the sons of Israel. Say to them, anyone who offers a communion sacrifice to the Lord is to bring him part of his sacrifice as an offering. He is to bring the Lord's burnt offering, that is, the fat that adheres to the breast, with his own hands. He is to bring it, and also the breast, with which he must make the gesture of offering before the Lord. The priest must burn the fat on the altar, and the breast shall revert to Aaron and his sons. You must set aside the right thigh from your communion sacrifices and give it to the priest. This right thigh shall be the portion of the son of Aaron who offers the blood and fat of the communion sacrifice. Thus, I keep back this breast and thigh out of the communion sacrifices offered by the sons of Israel, and give these to Aaron the priest and to his sons. This is a perpetual law binding the sons of Israel. This, then, was the portion of Aaron and of his sons in the Lord's burnt offerings on the day he presented them to the Lord to be his priests. This is what the orders of the Lord bind the sons of Israel to give them on the day they are anointed. This is a perpetual law for all their descendants. Such then is the ritual for holocaust, oblation, sacrifice for sin, sacrifices of reparation, investiture and communion. This is what the Lord commanded Moses on Mount Sinai when he ordered the sons of Israel to make their offerings to the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai.